Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Wisdom Wednesday. We're glad you're here with us. We're going to continue on what we've been working through, which is the Stay Slow acronym, and the A and the Y, which is actions and yield. And we're going to use a verse today, which is James 2:17, and it says, "Faith by itself, if not accompanied by action, is dead." Now, James isn't saying our actions save us, because that's not true. He's saying that genuine faith eventually shows up in how you live. And so that's what we're talking about today. And Kathy's going to fill you in on some more.
Yeah, we've been discussing surrender, but eventually surrender has to become visible. And at some point, it moves from our hearts and into our actions. I remember learning from you, Brian, that faith is not just a noun, but it's also a verb. And so we are supposed to be faithing, acting on what we believe.
Yeah, that is true. The modern American language makes it one word, but in the Bible it's actually two different words, a noun and a verb. And it reminds me of the story that I shared on Monday, right? Which is, if you didn't hear about it, there was a guy sitting on a bench at the beach, and God prompted me to go talk to him. And for a while, I argued with God. I delayed, I made excuses, and eventually I got up and I walked over there. And that act of obedience changed that person's day, maybe even their life.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that some of the greatest stories of faith are really stories of simple obedience.
Yeah, take George Mueller. If you haven't heard from him, look him up. Really obedient, helping lots of orphans. One morning, there was no food for the children in his orphanage. So he set the children down for breakfast. There's no food on the table, and they thank God for what hadn't yet even arrived. And all of a sudden, right after that, a baker shows up with bread, saying he was called all night to bake this bread for these kids. Then a milk wagon breaks down right nearby. The milk was going to go bad, so he delivers it to the orphanage. And all of a sudden, these kids had freshly baked bread and this milk to go with it. And so his faith wasn't just what he believed. His faith showed up in exactly what he did.
I love George Mueller and his story and his life. There's also Beth Moore. She was sitting in an airport when God told her to do something. He prompted her to go ask if she could brush the hair of this elderly man sitting across from her. She did not want to. That was very awkward, embarrassing even. But eventually she did it. She obeyed. And that was a small act of kindness. And it changed that man's life and it touched him deeply and was a special moment for that man.
Yeah, so you've got different stories, different people, different situations, but the same pattern. God speaks, we wrestle, then we act, and then God moves.
And most surrender stories, they don't need to be dramatic. Sometimes it's just sending a text that you feel the Holy Spirit is prompting you to send, or make a phone call, or offer forgiveness. That one's harder. Choosing to rest when you could stay busy. Maybe it's giving generously or having a difficult conversation.
Yeah, and the world celebrates these big moments, but God often works through these small acts of obedience.
All right, here's a challenge for today. What is one small thing that God has been nudging you to do? Not someday, but today.
And so, because of this, faith isn't proven by what you say you believe. Faith is revealed by what you actually do and are willing to do in following God. So think about that. What God might be calling you to do and what Kathy mentioned for the challenge for today, go do it. Watch what God does through you. God bless you.